As we just saw, South Korea's airspace was trespassed for hours by North Korean drones. Now, what does this mean, and why does Pyongyang continue to provoke South Korea through different actions? For more, we have Kim Yang-gyu, principal researcher at East Asia Institute, with us this morning. Good morning, Ms. Kim.
Good morning.
Now, drones flying into South Korean territory is a relatively new method of provocation by the North. The last one was spotted in 2017. What's behind this elevation in the regime's level of recent series of provocations? What will Pyongyang be able to gain from this?
I think it seems pretty obvious that North Korea is seeking to find a new way of elevating tensions on the Korean Peninsula after the release of Biden administration's nuclear posture review that talked about the end of the regime, North Korean regime, if North Korea uses nuclear weapons against the United States or its allies. North Korea has been very strong about this warning and said that Washington will pay the equal price for threatening North Korea and will conduct provocations in direct proportion to U.S. efforts to enhance its deterrence in the region. The problem is firing missiles is pretty expensive. Like some expert already estimated it costs about $2 to $10 million for each missile provocation, and we know that North Korea already launched more than 75 missiles this year. So I think Pyongyang has to be creative. They need to find a cheaper way to increase tension in the region. And I think using drones is a perfect and smart move for this, because drones are small, cheaper, relatively slow moving, and not easily detected by radar, and carry far less firepower, which means that it's a bit less threatening, yet it's capable of conducting surveillance missions relating crucial information about enemy locations and military moves, also performing combat and combat support, as we saw in the war during this year, the Ukraine, and about the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in 2020. So drones are perfect tool for escalation tactics, given the cost and capability to perform versatile missions.
Right, and I do want to ask for an elaboration in terms of the fact that missiles might not be a direct confrontation. Now, I wouldn't say it's not direct, but the fact that drones coming into the airspace of South Korea is, could it be looked at as something that's going further, despite being cheaper?
Indeed, but the drones itself cannot really damage much, except for the surveillance purpose. Of course, if they carry more arsenals, but the North Korean current technology of using drones, they have still a very beginning level of using drones. If they can launch like this is talking about the drone swarming, it's going to be very, very lethal, and it's very dangerous. But North Korea is far from actually conducting that level of a provocation using drones. So I think, as I just mentioned, drones can perform multiple missions, multiple functions, so they can choose the level of escalation as much as they do. So that's why I think they're trying to turn to drones. But this doesn't mean that North Korea will only stay in this level of using drones for escalating tensions, because North Korea has been following the playbook of its 2017, and we know that we have witnesses that North Korea conducted short-range missile tests, intermediate-range missile tests, intercontinental missile tests, and rocket engine tests. Everything has done in 2017 as well. The only thing they haven't done, even the drone provocation, the only thing they haven't done is nuclear tests. So maybe this is a build-up to conduct another nuclear test in the near future.
Now, I wanted to talk about the retaliations or the sanctions. Realistically speaking, how much pressure is the North feeling from these independent sanctions by Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo? Are these sanctions working, or are they just really symbol of disapproval?
I have to say that sanctions will not have that much impact. I think it's mainly for the sending political signals of the commitments of the three countries, especially Washington, Tokyo, and Seoul, because literally the inter-Korean economic exchanges has been banned for years, and like newly included, sanction organization, the Japan sanction list, like Lazarus Group, has been under U.S. sanctions for some time. So I don't think there are much things that we can do more to damage North Korea. And besides, North Korea already survived the most severe level of sanctions imposed by themselves during the pandemic. And North Korea demonstrated its surveillance, the resilience. They can survive even after the strict level of sanctions. So I think we cannot do much about to change behavior of North Korea using economic sanctions. And we already heard that North Korea has been very successful in using cyber operations to fund their missile programs. And some experts say that 1/3 of their missile program is funded by the cyber crimes operated by the organizations like Lazarus Group. So until we find a way to stop the cyber operations, I don't think that sanctions would do much.
Right. Now, we have a short amount of time, but before you go, the White House recently confirmed Pyongyang has been selling weapons to Wagner Group, the Russian paramilitary company. What kind of retaliation are we expecting from Washington in terms of justified retaliation because of this?
As I just mentioned, I think we are running out of tools. We don't have much card to play with, except for expanding the sanctions list. But it will not damage North Korea that much. Washington might do to actually frustrate Russian aggression in Ukraine, as we already heard that the U.S. announced a new aid package to Ukraine last Tuesday that included the Patriot air and missile defense system, which will make Russia more difficult to maintain the battlefield endurance in Ukraine, which will, indirectly punish North Korea, because now Russia and China is opening back doors for North Korea to have more support, economic support from these countries. So I think it could indirectly punish North Korea by punishing Russia.
Right. Well, thank you so much for your insight today. I know we only had a few minutes, but hope you have a great day, Mr. Kim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.